This is the ultimate camera comparison video of Samsung Galaxy S24 versus iPhone 16. The battle of Apple versus Samsung flagship. Let the battle begin. Today, another flagship fight between the latest iPhone 16 and the latest Samsung Galaxy S24. At this time of recording, we're also comparing Pixel 9, so stay tuned. Today, we're shooting both indoors and outdoors. We're shooting people, scenery, and random colorful things. We're also utilizing all three sensors of Galaxy S24 and the dual camera system of iPhone 16. Let's start with color profile and saturation, and to begin with, I would like to say that both of these flagship phones has impeccable details, an impressive autofocus system. I mean, all of the images we took for this comparison test are all spot on. I don't feel there's any bad images, maybe a couple of shots from Galaxy S24, but we will talk about that. The almost one-year-old Galaxy S24 has all the updates baked in, and you will notice that it has brighter colors than iPhone competition. It's also more vivid from the colors green, pink, red, and blue. Also, this affects the color of the sky. It has a bluer sky than the competition. Like this week, most of the outdoor shots are cloudy, but Samsung is forcing the sky to be bluer. I think this is because of the software algorithm. It exposes the shadows better, so basically if you want a brighter and better exposed photos, then Samsung Galaxy S24 is the way to go. Most of the time, I feel like 90% Galaxy S24 is warmer than the competition. Even in our portrait shots that I will talk about later in details, Galaxy S24 has this inviting look that you might also like, but this is a personal preference. Galaxy S24 is a little bit odd because it has a smoother surface than the competition, but at the same time, on darker situation, you would see it's noisier and there's artifacts on the shadowy part of the image. And in terms of range, you will have a wider field of view on the main sensor. I always need to adjust my shots so they would look identical. It also has a better 3x optical zoom compared to the 2x of iPhone 16, and obviously in terms of range, this could go as far as 30 times. While the new iPhone 16, speaking of zoom, has these camera control features that you can zoom in out of the photo and also change the aperture and the camera settings, I actually enjoy using this while doing this comparison video. I think it's pretty helpful, but it took me a while to get used to. iPhone 16 doesn't have any blown out shots. I feel like it has a very good exposure for a smartphone. Feels like a proper camera, to be honest, and it has a great dynamic range. Looks like something you would see on a Pixel phone. Again, I feel like this would be a neck-to-neck comparison between the Pixel 9 because of the HDR. I feel like both phones have natural-looking tones that a lot of camera enthusiasts are raving about. The colors are toned down and this phone has cooler white balance than the competition. Sometimes it would throw you a little bit of a warmer photo, most especially on the colors of lights that are yellow. It crushes the blacks compared to the Samsung flagship. It has a stronger contrast than the competition. You would see this on the trees outdoors and some shadowy parts indoors like the floors and the ceilings. I should say there's a little bit more details on iPhone 16. It's almost the same as Samsung, but I guess it's more defined on iPhone 16. It also cleans up the noise better compared to Samsung Galaxy S24. Overall, talking about the nature colors, if you look on the plants and the trees, you will see that the green is natural looking on iPhone 16. It doesn't boost them. If you want to know more about the specs of the new iPhone, it doesn't change from the iPhone 15 of last year. Looking at the main sensor, it has a 48 megapixel f1.6, but the ultra-wide lens has the same 12 megapixel sensor, but the lens is now f2.2 compared to f2.4 of last year, which may result to better low-light performance on the ultra-wide lens. The main sensor is a little bit punch-in compared to Samsung, and it also has digital zoom past 1x, you have a lossless 2x crop, and you can go as far as 10 times digital zoom. This is iPhone 16 cinematic video, so you can see a little bit of background there. I like two things about this phone. First is the design and colors. The pill-shaped camera module is actually unique for this phone, and also the color options. I also like the camera control feature of this phone, perfect for vlogging. Let's talk about portrait mode, and before we start, I would like to say that both phones has impeccable subject separation or cutout. I just don't know how many times I've used the word impeccable, but this is a true heavyweight fight. I put some pictures on our community tab to ask everyone about how they feel about the portrait features of both phones, and today I will discuss in full details my observation. Galaxy S24 is more saturated, it has warmer skin tone than the competition. Again, this is more likely an Instagram-ready photos that you don't need to edit the images. You would also notice that there are slightly more details on my face and my arms, and there's a difference in lighting. You have a front light contour on Galaxy S24 as compared to the natural lighting on iPhone 16. It means that Galaxy S24 feels like there's a front flash involved, while iPhone 16 doesn't hide any shadows on the face. It is what it is. The images are usually brighter and better exposed than the Apple competition, and also looking at the back, you would see stronger bokeh balls. I should say bigger but not as colorful as iPhone 16, but the advantage of having Galaxy S24 is you will have 3 focal lengths from 1x, 2x, and 3x, which is around 24mm, 50mm, and 75mm shot. While I feel like the portrait mode on iPhone 16 is slightly better than Galaxy S24, again, this is a personal preference. Although it's not as warm and bright as Galaxy S24, in fact, it's natural looking, and again, you will see shadows on the face. There's no light contour like what Samsung and Pixels are implementing. But in terms of subject cutout, you would see that iPhone 16 even detects the hair strands, which is phenomenal. I can't remember a smartphone that has this kind of portrait mode. I think this is the first on any smartphone, and I hope that Pixel and Samsung will pick up on this. You would see stronger contrast on iPhone 16. It also has deep blacks looking at the hairs and the shirt, and looking at the colors of the bokeh balls, you would see stronger colors on iPhone 16, which I feel is better compared to the totally washed out bokeh balls on Galaxy S24. Going for the selfie shots, I feel like the tendencies are the same. You have a warmer and brighter shot on Galaxy S24 and a more natural looking and heavily contrast image on iPhone 16. I think Galaxy S24 takes the win here because you have a wider shot, so you can fit more on the frame. Now, in terms of night shots, I feel like this will also be a personal preference. There's a hit and miss on both phones. Starting with Galaxy S24, you have a more saturated look, stronger contrast, and warmer white balance. Again, ready to post image on social media. It exposes the shadows better and manages the highlights really well. You would still see more information on strong light source and shadowy part of the image. On pitch black condition, it cleans up the noise better, but the face detection autofocus of Galaxy S24 is not as good as iPhone 16. On this image, I actually tried focusing the kettle for a minute, and Galaxy S24 is just stubbornly not doing it, while there's no issue with iPhone 16. And speaking of iPhone 16, the colors are natural looking again. Some might prefer this kind of look on night shot. Apple is not scared to show you that you're shooting on low light scenario. You have a stronger contrast and the shadows are less exposed. It crushes the blacks on the plants and the trees. But I feel like the biggest improvement on this year's iPhone 16 is the ultra-wide lens. I think it's so much better than last year by providing a faster lens. Looking side by side with Galaxy S24, the ultra-wide lens has better sharpness and details compared to the competition. This is Samsung Galaxy S24's portrait video, like the cinematic video of iPhone 16. There are a lot of things that is present on this phone that's not present on iPhone 16. You have the Pro mode on the video. You also have 8K video recording and dual recording. This is 8K video recording on Galaxy S24. Twice the size of 4K of iPhone 16. Look at the colors and the details. This phone is future-proof. And this is the dual video recording for Galaxy S24. You can see both front and back, perfect for vlogging. Again, there's no mode like this on iPhone 16. Let's talk about more detailed testing, starting with flaring. And as you can see from the ultra-wide, main, and even the optical zoom, I think the coating on iPhone 16 is managing the purple tint really well. And if we check the highlights, if you look on the light decor, you would see more information on Galaxy S24. One of the unique features of iPhone 16 is macro mode, so you can really shoot close-up shots, but you can also use the 3x optical zoom of Galaxy S24. It has great colors and better looking than the competition. Talking about sharpness, if you look on the ultra-wide lens, and if you zoom in, you would see that Galaxy S24 is performing better than iPhone 16. On the main sensor, Galaxy S24 is just putting a little bit of over-sharpening. You have better sharpness on the 3x optical zoom, and obviously you have better reach 30x on Galaxy S24. And lastly, details. The 12-megapixel JPEG of both phones almost has the same level of details, but if you go to the 24-megapixel mode on iPhone 16 and 50-megapixel on Galaxy S24, you will have more crop factor on Samsung's flagship, but a little softer too. First, we're doing the zoom test on iPhone 16 and Galaxy S24. This is ultra-wide in 4K 30 FPS. You can see the colors. There's a little bit more contrast on S24. Look at the shadows. Now we're going to the main sensor. Look at the details on that building. Again, a bit more contrast on Galaxy S24. And then the color of the sky, I think it's bluer on iPhone 16. The buildings here. The colors are also in favor of Galaxy S24. We have 2x versus 3x. And going to the farthest zoom, I think you have a better zoom on Galaxy S24. This is the stabilization test starting with the ultra-wide lens in 4K 30 FPS, and as you can see that although iPhone is brighter, it jerks a little bit more than Galaxy S24. Now going to the main sensor, again 4K 30 FPS, still the same tendencies. You have better contrast on Galaxy S24, and again iPhone 16 sways a little bit more. Now this is the digital zoom 2x on both phones. They're doing pretty well too. Also you got the 3 times optical zoom on Galaxy S24, and it has good stabilization too. We're also testing the slow motion, so you have full HD 240 FPS on iPhone 16, but Samsung S24 can shoot 4K 120 FPS. It has twice the resolution and clarity as iPhone 16. Now we're back in our studio. This is the selfie video recording in 4K 30 FPS. You have Galaxy S24 on the left and iPhone 16 on the right. Which do you think is better? So you have better contrast on Galaxy S24 and a little bit brighter on iPhone 16. This is the low light video test on iPhone 16 and Galaxy S24 using the ultra wide lens. Look at the colors and the sharpness. This is the main sensor. Love, say hi. This is the 3 times optical zoom. Going back to the main sensor. This is the ultimate camera breakdown of iPhone 16 and Galaxy S24. There's definitely improvement on the new iPhone 16 on portrait mode, night shot on the ultra wide lens and pitch black condition. You have a dedicated macro feature, and I still like the natural video output of the new iPhone. But if you nitpick on what you would get from both phones, you will have great image quality on Galaxy S24, you will have better video stabilization, better slow motion, selfie video and zoom range on almost a year-old Galaxy S24. I will give the portrait mode on iPhone 16, but pretty much everything else, I'll probably stick to S24.